This is my Philosophy of Education YouTube video for Dr. Randall Wright's Education 605 course, California State University, San Bernardino. My particular philosophy of education is an amalgamation of numerous philosophies, from antiquity through and to post-modernity, having been identified as an existential progressive behaviorist through the utilization of our course surveys. These tendencies lead me to support the works of Dewey, as well as many other in a progressive, student-centered educational philosophy forged by my other key philosophies that I will address. To properly speak to these ideas, I will present to you a worked example of my philosophy of education as it were a short course. With all of my courses, I begin with an increasing knowledge of audience and students, varying ages and backgrounds, weaving in the ideas that are discussed, tailoring the course to the needs of the students within the parameters of the required course objectives. This particular instructional strategy I believe to be from the existential phenomenologist's point of reference, accounting for the point of view that each learner has different learning styles and varying needs. It is important to note that I almost always attempt to capture the curiosity of the learner either through motivational overview of the material or through thought-provoking concepts or statements. So in this case, we'll begin with a quote from Plato. "Do not train a child to learn by force or harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds, so that you may be better able to discover with accuracy the peculiar bent of the genius of each." I will delve into the materials, as with all of my courses, through clearly stating the objectives. The student will, after viewing this short course, be able to recite Daniel Perkins' Philosophy of Education. The student will, after viewing this short course, be able to paraphrase Daniel Perkins' connections of theory to practice. The learning objectives are always presented at the beginning of the specific lesson and tied into elements within the lesson material, as cited again in Sadovnik et al., in relation to the objective and competency-based viewpoint supported in the contemporary realism perspective. The objectives drive, as a matter of congruent philosophy and practical application, the lesson content. Additionally, any formative or summative evaluations are derived specifically from these objectives. This ensures complete coverage of materials, providing objective-based validity of the evaluation from a contemporary realist vantage point. In this manner, function meets form. From the Platonic dialectic forms of idealism, with presentations of thought-provoking questions within the material, questions are presented in relationship to the content and utilized to stimulate group discussion regarding specific topics. This Platonic dialectic is similar to the ideals held in the notions of existential phenomenologists, in that the role of the teacher is to assist students in understanding the material and the world it is placed in through the posing of questions. It is also accepted, according to Sadovnik et al., 2012, that these questions assist in generating activities that require students to work together to make sense of a sometimes chaotic and absurd world. I present with PowerPoint, whiteboards, smartboards, as well as chart paper utilizing elements of timed reveal and structured questions. This idealism and the Platonic dialectic, as was proposed by Plato and Meno, leads to further stimulation of student interests and motivation, developing further discussion regarding the topics and concepts presented. Additional discussion and contextual relationships that are further vetted can be supported by a progressive Deweyan philosophy that integrate, as Sadovnik et al. Portray, both the academic as well as vocational disciplines. As a matter of educational strategy, the PowerPoint is not used as a crutch, but it is utilized to place the content into a structured form and outline, both assisting the student and the structure in the progression from the known to the unknown and from the simple to the complex, in a progressive Deweyan theme. At times, this Deweyan philosophy lends itself to create a group learning atmosphere wherein the students might plan and participate even further in the experiential learning process through work groups, compiling study guides, and interacting on a much more consistent basis both inside and outside of the classroom. Further motivation is cultivated within the student, drawing on their intrinsic elements, utilizing what Plato was credited in developing, the idea of reminiscence. Although not assuming that the knowledge a student possesses is instilled at birth, the partial use of this concept connects what the student already knows to the new information provided by the instructor with short, contextually applicable video segments. As an interrelated idea of reminiscence, contemporary cognitive constructivism, an offshoot of Piaget's work, is utilized here as an instructional strategy assisting in cementing the concepts, ideas, and theories to concrete and tangible actions, events, or processes. It is also important to note that such a strategy must also be supported with the ability of the student to utilize and or apply this newly learned skill as soon as is practicable. As a note, prior to all video being shown, the purpose as well as the content of the video is explained, thus framing and contextualizing the video, giving the video a specific purpose. To provide further instructional strategy to this philosophy, several structured or pre-formed questions are presented within the context of the video, as well as subsequent materials with students being asked individually or at times in group settings to compare and contrast ideas or assertions in relationship to the presented materials. Oftentimes, the students must present the ideas, concepts, and theories either as individuals or as a group back to the class to be graded within the parameters of a formative evaluation. A variety of evaluation methods can be utilized after employing these instructional strategies. However, the paramount focus lies in the fact that any formative or summative evaluation is derived solely from the specific objectives. In conclusion, I've talked about my personal philosophy of education as an existential, progressive, student-centered behavioral philosophy instructor and/or teacher. I've supported this by practical application of these philosophical theories within the classroom setting via utilization of specific instructional strategies as I presented in my short PowerPoint here and video. I'd like to conclude on one last quote from John Dewey. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. Thank you.